Here. Perfect. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today, I'm hosting Stelios and Kostas. I will let them introduce themselves in a second. Stelios, Kostas, are you here? Because I cannot see you.
Yes, we are here. We are here, yes.
You are here.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. So basically, the meaning of this conversation is to let you guys ask any question you have about taxes. Of course, it should not be a personal question. However, like a general, we are going to discuss about a personal tax. It means pink slip, yellow slip, PR, even if you are still a citizen in Israel. So how it's going to be the taxes. We are going to speak about the company taxes that you need to know. We will speak about the non-dom, PR, I mentioned already, and properties. But regarding the properties, it will not be, let's say, as much as we are willing to talk about companies. But if you have a question, so please feel comfortable to write it down in a chat if you haven't done it yet via WhatsApp. If you feel that we do not answer your question, so please raise your hand. There is the option to do that in Zoom, and we will let you ask your question. So Kostas, Stelios, thank you so much for joining the call. I really appreciate it. I know that it's too late already, 8:37. Kostas, I know that you're at the office every night until 10 because you are not willing to help your wife, but it's fine. And please introduce yourself so people would know who they are talking to.
All right. Good evening to everybody, first of all. We would like to thank you for the invitation to this webinar and for giving us the opportunity to answer any of your questions. My name is Stelios Ioannou, and I am the Managing Director of Cosmoco. I am together with Kostas Savidis, who is the head of the Limassol office. Actually, we are an auditing practice with 2 offices in Cyprus, one in Limassol, one in Nicosia. And we are dealing mainly with audit, accounting, tax advice, international tax planning, VAT consulting, VAT compliance services, accounting, payroll, consulting, due diligence, and training. Of course, through our associates, we can assist also with the incorporation of companies, with immigrations, with PRPs, permanent resident permits, and many other stuff. Given the experience that we have with the Israeli market for the last 15 years, I hope that we will give you all your practical answers, if you like, on the questions that you face on a daily basis. And of course, we face with Israeli clients, being individuals and companies, that they do business through Cyprus. So I believe we can begin today with a small introduction of personal taxation, just to clear certain gray zones, because many of the questions of the Israeli clients come from the, the basic definitions of the Cyprus tax system. So if I am allowed, I can begin with a small introduction of personal taxation. Of course, we can answer any questions, and also for corporation tax and the other topics that you have mentioned to your introduction. So for personal taxation, allow me to say that, first of all, in order to be a Cyprus tax resident, okay, you need to spend 183 days in Cyprus. This follows the general OECD model that most of the countries follow. 183 days is the majority of a calendar year, more than 365, more than 50%. In Cyprus, however, from 2017, we have introduced a new law allowing for somebody to become a Cyprus tax resident on the basis of 60 days in a calendar year, provided that he doesn't spend 183 days from the rest of the 305 days in a calendar year, and certain other conditions. I am saying this because most of the Israeli clients, they follow either the 183-day rule or the 60-day rule, okay? But there we need to be careful. Provided that you are a Cyprus tax resident, This is another topic that again is a gray area. If you are a tax resident on the basis of 183 days or 60 days, this means that all your income that arises as a person in Cyprus from abroad would be subject to Cyprus taxation. So Cyprus tax residents are taxed on their worldwide income, any income from Cyprus or abroad. People that they are not Cyprus tax residents, but they earn income from Cyprus, this income will be taxed in Cyprus, and of course, they will be able to get a tax credit in the country that they are tax residents for the Cyprus tax that they have already paid, okay? Just to clear this thing for the 60-day rule, because we have a lot of people asking about the 60-day rule. As I said, the strongest evidence to be a Cyprus tax resident is the 183-day rule. If you spend 183 days in Cyprus, immediately you can become Cyprus tax resident. If you go with the 60-day rule, as I said earlier, you need to make sure that from the rest of the year, the 305 days in a calendar year, you don't spend 183 days in one country. For example, if you are 60 days in Cyprus, but you are 190 days in Israel, you cannot claim that you are a Cyprus tax resident, because if the Israeli authorities claim that jurisdiction that you are Israeli tax residents, they will win the case. Plus, that if you follow the 60-day rule and you don't spend 183 days in another one country, you need also to demonstrate that you have ties in Cyprus. Ties mean that you are employed, for example, in Cyprus. You may be a director in a Cyprus tax resident company. And of course, you have a permanent stay in Cyprus through a property that you have purchased or through a property that you are renting out. I am saying this because there are many people that they are confused, saying that if I spend 60 days in Cyprus and I spend 190 days in Israel, I can become Cyprus tax resident. This is not true. All right, so this is something that you need to be aware. And then basic law, international tax law, is that you cannot be tax resident in two countries. In a tax year, you can be a resident of at least in one country, okay? Now, for the days, number of days, either if you follow 183-day rule or the 60-day rule, how the days count. The day from departure from Cyprus counts as one day that you were staying in Cyprus, all right? Outside Cyprus. So the departure, it doesn't count. The date of arrival in Cyprus, it counts as one day of residence in Cyprus. If you have arrival and departure from Cyprus in the same day, it counts as one day of residence in Cyprus. If you have a departure and arrival in Cyprus in the same day, this one day counts as one day of residence outside of Cyprus. So if you are challenged from the authorities about the days that you stay in Cyprus, you will be able, of course, to prove it with the airplane tickets. This is part of the evidence that they will request, and also part of the evidence that you stay in Cyprus. For example, your salary, if it is from a Cyprus employer, or if you are a director in a Cyprus company, and of course, all the utility bills and the rental agreement, or if you own the property, proof of the ownership of the residence that you stay permanently in Cyprus. Okay, another practical aspect that the authorities often request are the card account statements proving that you was in Cyprus and your lifestyle was in Cyprus. For example, going to the petrol station, going to the supermarket, and other things that we do in our everyday lives. Okay.
So, Josh, Related to the 60-day rule, it's very important to have the copies of the boarding pass and electronic tickets in order to prove them the in and out in Cyprus, or copies of the passport, the stamps.
Of course.
This is very important.
All right. So thank you, Kostas, for the amendment. But what we'd like to say is that many people from Israel, they are confused about the tax residency, or they are even confused about the passport that they have. I have a European Union passport. I have an Israeli passport. The nationality or the citizenship is one thing for tax purposes. What counts is a tax residency. Just to clear this from the outset. Okay? Now, being a Cyprus tax resident, either on the 183-day rule or the 60-day rule, immediately you are subject to the Cyprus tax system. Okay, like Cypriots, like normal Cypriot tax residents. Okay, so there, the personal tax system gives certain exemptions, but also gives the scale of taxes that you need to pay. In Cyprus, the personal tax system is a progressive tax system, meaning that the first 19,500 euro in Cyprus is tax-free. Then from the 19,501 euro to 28,000 euro is 20%. From 28,001 euro to 36,300 is 25%. From 36,301 euro to 60,000 is 30%. And over 60,000, the tax rate is 35%. However, here we have a lot of exceptions. For example, people that they come from Israel, let's put it in Israel, that they come in Cyprus for first time, and they will get their first employment in Cyprus. All right, so this is the first time that they are employed in Cyprus. They were not previously employed in Cyprus. People that they will earn more than 55,000 euro in a year, immediately they will get 50% exemption. So they will tax on half of this amount. If you earn, let's say, 100,000, you will be taxed on 50,000. The rest of the 50,000 is outside the scope for first employment. If you are earning less than 55,000, the tax system will give you either 20% of your gross salary income or 8,550 euro, whichever is higher. So if the 20%, for example, is 10,000, you would be limited to 8,550 euro. Apart from that, there are also certain exemptions, which are very powerful exceptions for the Cyprus tax system, and is one of the tax systems in the world that allows this exception. For example, the profit from the sale of securities. All right, let's say if you buy shares of a foreign company and you sell the shares at a profit, this profit is specifically exempted under the Cyprus tax system. The only profit that is not exempted in general is when you buy and sell shares of a Cyprus company, and this Cyprus company owns immovable property in Cyprus. If it doesn't own immovable property, this means that the sale on the profit on the disposal on the sale of these securities will be exempted. We have other exceptions. For example, if you are working for a foreign employer outside Cyprus for more than 90 days in a tax year, again, this remuneration from the non-Cyprus resident employer, again, it is exempted from personal income tax.
So I would like to interrupt you, please.
Of course.
So let's speak about the pink slip, the first D.
Yes.
Go step by step. So basically, if I understand correctly, let's say right now.
Can I ask one question before about what you said?
Of course.
What happens if it's not the first employment in Cyprus regarding the 50% discount in taxes?
If it is not the first employment, immediately you will not be under the law, and you will be taxed normally as the rest of the Cyprus. So you will not get this 50%. It needs to be the first employment. And if this if this is applicable, this will go for a lifetime of up to 17 years. But if it is not the first employment in Cyprus, you will not be allowed this exemption.
Okay, thank you.
Now let's go back to pink slip, please.
Yes.
Let's say right now I apply for pink slip. I want to live in Cyprus. I got already the pink slip, but I still work for Israeli company from abroad. It means I live in, I don't know, let's say in the mountains, and I work for Israeli company. And my salary, if I compare it to euro, it's like 50K. And I pay taxes in Israel already. Should I pay taxes in Cyprus, or it's already exempt? If it's exempt, should I report it to the tax authorities in Cyprus and get back the money? How does it work? And
Of course.
also, is it similar for PR?
I will explain in 1 minute also for the PR.
No problem.
First of all, let's define that depending on the country that you are tax resident,
Israel, only
you
Israel.
have personal tax returns. So if you are in Israel, it means that you need to pay all taxes in Israel, okay? So if you have the pink slip, but you are tax resident in Cyprus for that specific year, this means that you are Cyprus tax resident. Cyprus tax residents pay taxes on their worldwide income, and any taxes that you have paid in Cyprus, you need to provide all the documentation, okay, in Israel, in order to avoid double taxation and to give you a credit for the taxes that you have paid in Cyprus. But there you need to be careful. If you have the pink slip in Cyprus, this means that you stay permanently in Cyprus. So you are tax resident in Cyprus, and you need to make all the paperwork in Israel that you are not tax resident of Israel. All right? Because
Right, but the pink slip says you're allowed to live in Cyprus, but you're not allowed to work in Cyprus. You're allowed to work in abroad. So it means I sit at home with my laptop and work for an Israeli company. So I pay the tax in Israel as usually. Now, what is the procedure? So let's say now we finished 2023. Let's say we came after the quarter, after we finished the first quarter, and I need to submit, let's say, the tax declaration to the tax authority. How does it work?
let's say that you are becoming Cyprus tax resident because you have exceeded the limits, the number of days, either 183 or the 60-day rule with all the parameters. If you need to prepare your Cyprus tax return to the authorities, and of course you need to provide all the documentation proving that you have paid any tax in Israel in order to get a tax credit in Cyprus. And if the taxes were more in Israel, you will not pay any additional in Cyprus. If the taxes in Israel were less, you will pay the difference in Cyprus.
And what is the cost to submit that, I don't know, that request?
The personal tax return, first of all, just to say, is submitted every year, next year in April. But the last 2 years, we are getting extensions, all the people. So it was July, now it went to end of October, all right?
Okay.
The only thing that you need to provide is to get proof from the tax authorities or from the tax that you have paid in Israel. These documents will need to be translated in English or Greek language through an official translator, government official translator, and we submit your tax return in Cyprus together with this evidence, with the tax credit that we will claim in Cyprus in order for you not to pay additional tax in Cyprus.
Okay. Is it the same for yellow slip in case I live in Cyprus, but I still work for an Israeli company? Is it the same case?
It's the same case because this is income that you earn as tax resident in Cyprus. You are taxed on your worldwide income. meaning income from Cyprus and income from abroad. So all your income will be taxed in Cyprus. If you have paid any taxes or they have withheld any taxes in Israel, we need to get the proof for the payment of these taxes in Israel, translate it in Greek or English language, and do a letter to the tax office together with your tax return requesting the credit. All right?
Okay. And about the PR, you say PR is different.
The permanent residence permit is slightly different because a permanent residence permit, the essence there is that you cannot work. You are not able to work. You can be a director of your company or you can be shareholder. This is permanent residence permit. Of course, if you are Cyprus tax resident, you are becoming Cyprus tax resident, all your income from abroad will be taxed again in Cyprus, and for any foreign tax that you have paid, we would request a tax credit in Cyprus, which is equal to the amount of tax that you were supposed to pay in Cyprus in order to avoid double taxation. But we need to provide all the evidence translated in English or Greek language.
I will say I'm asking because we have some people here in that conversation that they bought the property above 300, they already got the PR and they moved to Cyprus. Now, as we know, once you get the PR, you're not allowed to work in Cyprus, but you're still allowed to work abroad. So basically they want to know if it's the same as pink slip. So as far as you say, if they keep working for Israeli company but live in Cyprus, it's the same procedure. It means they will pay in Israel, showing the tax authorities in Cyprus that we pay more than needed in Cyprus, and then we don't pay again in Cyprus.
Correct, because you will provide the evidence proving that this amount of income, for this amount of income, tax has been paid abroad. But we need to prove that through the evidence of payment of taxes, of the foreign taxes.
Perfect. Guys, do you have any question regarding pink slip, yellow slip, PR?
Yes.
Yeah.
If you are more than 183 days in Cyprus, do you automatically consider as a tax resident?
Yes, in Cyprus, if you are 183 days and you can prove this through the documents that we mentioned at the introduction, you can claim that you are tax resident in Cyprus, and being a Cyprus tax resident, this means that you need to submit your personal tax return in Cyprus. You need to obtain.
I'm asking the opposite. If I don't want to be a Cyprus tax resident, do I automatically considered by the authorities as one if I'm more than half a year in Cyprus?
No, unless the Cyprus tax authority has a claim, and based on evidence, they can prove that you are Cyprus tax resident. This thing is by foreigners arises mainly of their own reporting, all right, and their own documents. If you don't want to be Cyprus tax resident, and the Cyprus authorities claim that you are Cyprus tax resident, you need to prove why you are not Cyprus tax resident, but you are tax resident somewhere else. All right, but with 183 days, it is difficult to prove that you was not Cyprus tax resident. If the tax authorities have this request.
Okay.
Guys?
I have a question.
Yes.
I have another question. First of all, regarding the ability to work for a foreign company, for that matter, for an Israeli employer, from what I understand, from the moment I become a taxpayer in Cyprus, it also implies some tax obligations on the employer in Israel. So it means that the employer must register as an employer in Cyprus from the moment they employ an employer that is a taxpayer in Cyprus. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes. Now you are
correct.
Thank you for the question. You are referring now to the social insurances and social security cost, I guess. So this is a very good question, because if the Israeli employer has employees in Cyprus, there, because Israelis are considered to be a third country nationals for Cyprus, the solutions there is what we do is that either the Israeli employer will register an EU company as part of the group of the Cyprus company to employ its employees in Cyprus, in order for this company to be registered as an employer and pay all the social insurances for the company and, of course, for the employees. Another, let's say, alternative is for this company to establish a branch in Cyprus, to register a branch in Cyprus to employ this employee and employee this social security cost. And another alternative for many Israelis is that from employees then become self-employed individuals. So they invoice their companies with their services, but of course they need to pay the social insurances in Cyprus as self-employed. All right.
But
all
if
these
you have the pink slip, you
all
are not
these
allowed to get income in
Wait,
Cyprus.
Daniel, please.
Yes.
Go ahead, Daniel.
it's actually a catch, because originally you say that you don't work in Cyprus and you work for an external company, for a third-party company, but then after 133 days, once you become a tax resident in Cyprus,
Yes.
the employer is obliged to register as an employer in Cyprus, and then you actually work in Cyprus, and you basically do something that you are not supposed to do, and you terminate the terms of your visa.
183 days is to pay your tax, all right? Is to pay your tax, is where the taxes are paid. You may be 183 days, but you work for a foreign employer, and the foreign employer can continue to give you your social insurances and deduct them from Israel. So you can do this as well, all right? But if you are here, most of the people that they have a lot of employees here, okay, they need to convert from the pink slip to obtain an employment visa because you work in Cyprus in order to avoid these consequences that you just referred. So,
not sure I got it. Sorry. You said that if I'm the only employer, then it's a different case compared to if there are many employers in Cyprus.
Most of the employers, the foreign employers in Israel, in order to avoid this thing with the pink slips, okay, they register a company in Cyprus or another European Union company or a branch. This branch is registered for social insurances in Cyprus, all right, of the company. And under this company, you need to obtain employment visas that you are able to work in order to avoid this prohibition that you have with the pink slip that you cannot work for a Cyprus. You cannot work for a Cyprus employer, all right? Because there we had a lot of difficulties with the social insurances. Because as you correctly said, on the one hand, if you are tax resident, you pay all your taxes here, but the social insurances that the employer needs to apply, it is very difficult for social insurances in Cyprus to accept an Israeli company just to register only for certain employees. So the solution there is for the Israeli employer either to register another company in Cyprus for the purpose of employing the employees, or to register a branch in Cyprus to employ the employees. And of course, your pink slips will be converted to employment visas, that there is no prohibition for you to work in Cyprus. This is the solution here.
So basically, that's very different from yellow slip and pink slip. Just to let you know, guys, in case you have a yellow slip and you still want to work for the Israeli branch, you don't have to open a company. However, there are some third companies which call Eurofast, for example, that they can hire you and you're like a third, let's say, a contractor for your own company, and it is legal. Okay, so
as self-employed.
You can do that as well. However, Stelios, when you're going to open a company and you don't have a EU passport, you need to pay around 200K to establish that company. So there is a cost that, of course, we need to discuss about it, and we will get there soon regarding companies. But first of all, I would like to speak only about PR, yellow slip, pink slip, as you mentioned, the personal taxes, before we go to the company taxes.
All right.
So, guys, do you have any other question regarding yellow slip, pink slip, PR?
I have a question about when does the count of the 183 days start? From the day I moved to Cyprus or from January 1st?
Listen, you need to be 100. In Cyprus, the tax year is a calendar year. So it is from 1st of January to 31st of December. All right. Mm-hmm. So if during the year, not continuous days. You may come 20 days, leave for 10, come another 40. So you need to be either 183 days in a calendar year or 60 days in a calendar year. But from the rest of the year, the 305 days, you are not 183 days in one country. Let's say you cannot be in Cyprus for 70 days and to be 185 days in Israel.
For example, if you will come now in Cyprus, you don't have time to do the 183 days.
Yes, by definition.
Because now it's end of July, so we don't have the days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes,
One more question, please.
Of course.
From what I understand, you cannot maintain a pink slip visa for more than if you are in Cyprus more than 6 months of a year, right? This is basically what you said.
Yes, this is immigration rules. These are the immigration rules. All right. This is not. It does the pink slip or yellow slip. Is not connected. I mean, it's connected with the tax residency, but these documents are issued from immigration. All right. These are from immigration. So you need to follow the rules of immigration.
But as far as I know, the pink slip visa is issued for 1 year, not for 6 months.
Yes, maximum.
So how does it work if you are not able to use it for 1 year, unless you are going out of Cyprus part of the time?
Part of the
correct?
time and you are coming back. Yes, and you reapply.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the next topic we would like to discuss is the biggest topic, basically, is about companies.
All
now,
right.
Before we start, there are some questions, guys, that you sent me before the webinar about the cost. We are not going to talk about the cost. We cannot give you the exact cost. We can speak later on, and there are some associate that we work with that you can speak to them about the cost. Okay, so please do not ask any question, what is the cost to open a company and service, something like that. So just to make it clear. Stelios, are you still here?
Yes, of course.
Perfect, because I cannot see my screen. So basically, most of the question that I sent you earlier, if you could see, it's about a company. So we have few types of opening a company. First one is an Israeli guy with Israeli passport who would like to open a company and work for that company. Now, as we mentioned before, it costs $200K to establish that company.
It's not cost, it is not a cost.
I will
It's not
explain.
cost. Okay, transfer the funds to the bank account, and you can use that. Anyway, for us, it sounds like a cost.
All right, I will explain that.
Sorry about it, you will explain. Second one is about an EU passport who would like to open a company. Third one is a holding PR who would like to open a company. And the last one to discuss, in case I would like to open a company, but I still stay a citizen in Israel, how can it be done? Because basically I need a director, I need to pay salaries and extra. So the stage is yours.
All right. Let's begin with the basis of taxation, and I will answer one by one all your questions.
Sounds good.
All right. First of all, a company is tax resident in Cyprus if it is managed and controlled in Cyprus. Managed and controlled in Cyprus means that the people, the directors, who is managing and control the company, then directors take all the decisions of the company. So the majority of the directors need to be Cyprus tax residents. From 23, a Cyprus company that is also incorporated in Cyprus, they amended the law. So if it is incorporated in company, will be considered by default to be a Cyprus tax resident, unless it is tax resident and can prove that it's tax resident in another jurisdiction. Now, let's say you have an Israeli individual that wants to open a company, all right? So the Israeli individual can give instructions to the lawyer, as you know, to apply for the company name, to obtain a company name, and within a time limit to establish a Cyprus company. The Cyprus company nowadays needs to have substance in Cyprus. Substance means that is not a paper company. It has an office, it has employees, it has a telephone line, it has a website. These are also requirements that they will come for the opening of the bank account from the banks, okay? So the Israeli individual or any other individual with any passport, European or not, follows the same procedure for opening a company. What makes a difference there with the passport is if this individual wants to become an employee of the company. If you are a third country national, let's say not European Union national, then you need to follow a specific procedure from the immigration in order to register the company in the immigration in order to be able to employ third country nationals. As you correctly said, one of the requirements is for this UBO, the ultimate beneficial owner, the shareholder, to transfer 200,000 euro in the company's bank account, okay, to demonstrate from abroad, to demonstrate that he has the funds, the company has the funds, and once the application to the immigration and the approval of the first employee in the company that they are registered and they are eligible to employ third country nationals, these 200,000, you can take them back. So it's not something that would remain fixed. It's a matter of days until you make the immigration procedure. I mean, the law doesn't say that you need to put the 200,000 and they will stay there forever. Of course, if you want to keep them there for capital needs, working capital needs or anything, you are allowed to do so, okay? If you are a European Union national, okay, and you want to get employed, to have an employment in your company, you will be able to do it. Again, we need to do a small procedure with the immigration, but the procedure is much more simplified than the third country national, okay? Now, if you are tax resident, now, if you are, let's say, Israeli tax resident, okay, and you want to have a company, or let's say you are an Austria, you are a guy from Germany or Austria, and you wish to have a Cyprus company, this means that the Cyprus company will do its operations, will be taxed in Cyprus. The corporation tax in Cyprus is flat, is 12.5%. Okay, but again, there are many types of income that you can get exception, like, for example, any profit on the disposal of securities that we said before. For individuals, the same is applicable for companies. So if you pay the tax in Cyprus and you want to distribute any profits to the shareholder, depending on the country that your shareholder is tax resident, will follow the double tax treaty. If, let's say, it's in Israel, there is no double tax treaty in Israel, so these dividends will go to the hands of the Israeli shareholder, and these dividends will be taxed in accordance with the laws of Israel. If you are a German shareholder, you will follow the double tax treaty, and these dividends, again, will be subject to the German tax system. So, these are the answers to your questions. Excuse me if I forgot anything, please remind me if I forgot anything just to answer it.
So let's ask you a question that I got earlier about the company.
Yes.
If I work in Cyprus, no, that's okay. If I open a company and I have a client in Israel, can I report all flights, hotels, and others, let's say, expenses in that company if I go back to Israel?
All right. Listen, the law in Cyprus for deductibility of expenses is simple. It says that all expenses that they have been incurred wholly and exclusively for the purposes of producing income are tax deductible. Of course, we have certain exemptions. So in your question, if these flights, you can prove that my clients are in Israel, and I need to fly in Israel to make business in Israel, and provided that you have, of course, all the documents and evidence, these expenses will be deductible, okay? As long as you can prove that they have been incurred wholly and exclusively to produce income, and this income will be subject to tax. Okay?
Okay. Second one. Can part of the children education expenses be recognized deductible expenses?
No, these expenses are not for the whole and exclusively for the purpose of producing company income. So the answer is no. These will be considered as shareholder withdrawals, as shareholder expenses, if they were paid by the company. So they will not be deductible.
But if it's a shareholder expenses and once I withdraw, let's say, a dividend and I need to pay a dividend in Israel 30%, can it be like deduct from that 30%?
Yes, if no, then dividend will be taxed as normal. The payment of the dividend, let's say, is 100,000, okay? The dividend is 100,000. 30,000 you withdrew for different expenses, shareholder expenses. This means that the company owes you 70,000. All right, so it will be set off with your amount of payable. But the tax in Israel will be based on the 100,000.
Okay.
All right.
What about rent and mortgage?
Rent expense that, let's say you rent an office for the company. This is
house. Let's say a house and I have one bedroom in the house that's used for an office.
Listen, under specific circumstances, if you can show an allocation that part of this rent belongs to the company for carrying out the company's income, the tax office will accept it. In general, however, if you have a company, but you pay the rent of your house as a shareholder, this rent is not deductible.
So let's ask it differently because I'm an Israeli and you know that.
All right.
Thank you. Let's say right now I rent a house, pay 2,000. Can I have a separate agreement with my company for a specific room in the house that will cost me 500 per month to rent that is as an office?
If you can prove that your business is carried out from there, yes, you can do it.
What do you mean prove?
Sorry, Itai, but this 500 euro will be taxable on your personal income tax because you're going to rent it to your company and you're going to have income in a monthly basis, 500 euro.
Yeah, but all of us know that if I buy a resale under 19.5K, I don't pay tax in Cyprus.
You don't pay tax.
65.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So if I buy a resale one, so that can be actually only 2.65.
Yes.
Correct.
So if I buy a resale and have a separate agreement, I'm an Israeli guy, try, to
All right.
put some expenses. I say that, you didn't say that.
Part of it as long as it is logical, reasonable, and is justifiable.
Okay, sounds much better. You make my day now. Anyway, next question. Guys, actually, I follow the question you sent me on chat, so if you send me some question, it's going to be there as well. Regarding a company with diverse income source, if I open a company employing a software developer, and most of the income comes from that job, is it acceptable to invest in real estate or shares under the same company, or should these activities be separate into another company?
All right, listen. The activities of a company, what you can do with a company, these are defined by the memorandum and articles of the company. In general, Cyprus lawyers, they make the memorandum and articles of the companies general. So you are not limited to what activity you can do with the company. All right. So as long as you are allowed by the memorandum and articles of the company, yes, you can do more than one activity. Software, you can do shares or any other activity. My personal opinion, advice, this is not a legal requirement. This is my personal advice. What we say to our clients, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you will have different activities, it's better to do it through different companies. It's not prohibited, but it is better for risk diversification. On another note, let's say the sale of shares, as I said before, is not taxable. The software development, I mean the income and expenses, will be subject to tax. So there, if you do taxable and non-taxable activity, you need to allocate also your expenses, which expenses belong to the taxable activity, which expenses belong to the non-taxable activity. So it is better to have your different activities in different companies for all these purposes.
Okay.
Of course, not to risk. This is personal opinion. This is not a legal requirement. I am repeating that. All right.
Before I continue with the question about the company, another question regarding the PR, a different question. So just to make sure, in case I have a PR and live in, let's say, in Paphos, and
Yes.
I live in the house, and I have an Israeli company that I work for from abroad in Israel, and in Israel I need to pay taxes. We say that I need to pay taxes in Israel. One second, guy. I will
Yes.
you guys, perfect. I will pay taxes in Israel, and I don't need to pay VAT in Cyprus. And basically, I need to show you guys that I paid already my taxes in Israel, and it's more than what I was supposed to pay in Cyprus. Therefore, I will not pay VAT and taxes in Cyprus. Is it correct?
VAT is something different from the personal taxes. Let's separate the two. All right. The personal taxation, if you paid in Israel, but you are Cyprus tax resident, as we said, and we need to submit the tax return in Cyprus because you are Cyprus tax resident, we need to claim, we will claim a credit on your taxes paid in Israel, provided that we have all the records proving that you paid this tax in Israel, translated from a government translator, official government translator, in Greek or in English. So we have the proof. This is for your personal taxation. VAT is something different. VAT, there, in order to attract VAT, it depends on what services you provide. But generally, let's say if you provide consulting services from Cyprus to Israel, because it is outside European Union, that is outside of the scope of the VAT, so no VAT is applicable. But with the VAT, it's a different chapter, and VAT is not applicable for employment services or anything else. VAT comes into play as an individual or as a company if you provide VAT-able services. All right?
Okay, next question. Non-dom. Does a non-dom status in Cyprus allow receive a salary generated outside of Cyprus with zero tax?
Listen, the non-domicile status, first of all, in order to become a Cyprus non-domicile, you need to become Cyprus tax resident. So either what we said before, 183 days or 60 days. Non-domicile, just for you to know, is applicable for the special defense tax that we have in Cyprus. If you are non-domicile, it means that you will be accepted for special defense tax on your dividends, on your rent income, on your interest, and you need only to pay a minimal national health system. If you are getting salaries, you will be subject to the normal scale of taxation, to the normal tax rates, regardless if you are non-dom. If you earn more than 55,000, as we said, you will get 50% off. Okay, so the non-dom is not applicable for your salaries. It's only for dividends, interest, and rental income. All right?
So I will ask a different question. Let's say right now I have a company in Cyprus and I apply for non-dom. I don't take salary home, but at the end of the year, I ask for a dividend because the dividend is tax-free, 0% anyway.
Correct. This dividend will be tax-free because you are non-dom, and you only need to pay the national health system. All right?
Which is 2.65 with a cap of 180,000 euros.
Okay. If I open a company, I must have an employee in a company to pay a salary, or I can have a company without an employee to pay a salary, but to be just the owner, so I don't pay anything.
It is better to have a salary for substance purposes to prove that there is somebody there that is doing the business of the company.
And
this
the minimum,
is also a must.
the minimum is still 2,500, or I can pay less than that.
Listen, if you are a country national, we need to follow the immigration rules. So the immigration rules have a minimum salary. If you are an EU citizen that you don't have this rules, you can follow less amount.
500 and it's good enough.
Okay. Okay, this depends on the company. It's a private agreement.
You know, we
There
already
is no, but in Cyprus,
Stelios, we are Israelis. We want to pay less and
the
get more.
500 will be applicable only for part-time because in Cyprus we have the minimum wage as well.
No problem.
All right.
No problem. Understood. Next question. If I earn income from both Israel and Cyprus, how is tax handled? Now, I don't know what's this question in the group. If you are here, please, if you can text me, tell me exactly if you have a company, you don't have a company, EU passport or not. Because it's complicated to say if you are allowed to work in Cyprus first or not.
Yes.
What are the costs and requirements? Okay. We are not talking about the cost, but there are some requirements. So basically for the requirements, as we mentioned before, you need to transfer 200K to open a company. You need to show your bank statement from Israel to show that you have that money.
This is for immigration. For immigration.
Yeah.
Yes.
Open a bank account, and this process can take between 3 weeks, and we have some clients which is not their mistake, but unfortunately it took them around 4 or 5 months. So basically you need to know that it takes some time. Stelios, can you basically explain the process of opening that company, like what they're actually going through, how it works?
First of all, let's explain the incorporation of a Cyprus company, and then we can explain the immigration procedure if you want to employ third country nationals. The incorporation of a company, first of all, we begin with the company name. You need to apply for a company name. Provided that there is no similarity, okay, or exactly the name, a company name, I mean an existing company, this takes around 4 or 5 business days for the register of companies to give you a go ahead for the company name. Once the company name is approved, the external associate prepares all the documents, memorandum, articles, and the rest of documentation that the clients need to sign. And once these are submitted, the register of companies, it usually takes 10 business days to incorporate a company depending on the timing of the year. If you go now in August, now is summer, it will take longer because of the annual leave. Once we incorporate a company, the company is ready. We have 60 days for the company to get a tax identification number. So within 60 days from the incorporation, we need to get a tax number, tax identification number of the company in order to avoid the penalty of €100. If you want to apply to immigration, there is a series of documents that will be requested. You mentioned certain requirements. The first requirement is for the shareholder of the company to prove and to send from abroad to the company's bank account an amount of €200,000. Okay. Then all the paperwork for the immigrations needs to be completed. And together with the company, we need to apply for the first employee of the company to get the immigration status. The employee there will need to have also certain medical exams, okay, which are standard. These medical exams will need to be certified by a government hospital, and we'll arrange an appointment with the immigration so the individual can also provide his or her biometrics. Okay, this usually with the appointment from the time that we submit all the paperwork, we need around 10 to 15 business days to register the company for the immigration and the first employee. Once we get the ARC number of the employee, then the next step is to register the company to the social insurances together with as an employer, and then the first employee as an employee of the company. For the second employee in VDI, the procedure is much simpler because we need to apply only for the employee and not for the company again. So for the company, it's only done once, okay?
Okay.
Once you do the first employee and the first application that I mentioned, this 200,000 euro, you can take them back. The shareholder can take the back from the company's bank account unless he or she wishes to leave this money with the company, you know, for future expenses or for future needs.
Okay. And before I continue with questions regarding that, there's different questions that I would like to answer. It's very important. Do children with special needs have different rights, maybe in taxes or something else?
Excuse me, it was cut. Children have?
Children with special needs.
Yes.
Do they have different rights?
No, no.
No, in some, because Israel, we do have some in taxes and other things as well. No. Okay. More question regarding the company. What frequency I can withdraw the dividends for my company as a shareholder?
Listen, there is no something in the law that can prohibit you to withdraw dividends any time of the year that you wish. You can do this monthly, you can do it 6 months, quarterly, or yearly. Okay? So there is no, any time limit for you to withdraw the dividends, being foreign individuals or in the company or becoming Cyprus tax residents. Okay? Because you, as non-domicile, you will not be subject to difference tax. If, let's say, you are non-domicile and you are normal Cyprus tax residents, if within 2 years, let's say in 2021, you make profits and you haven't distributed them by the end of 23, then under the Cyprus tax system, the special defense tax law will take 70% of these dividends and it will consider it as a deemed distribution to the dividend, to the shareholder, excuse me. So this deemed dividend distribution would be subject to 17% special defense tax and national health system. This is applicable for Cyprus tax residents. If you are Cyprus tax resident but not domicile, this is not applicable.
Okay. A different question regarding non-dom, because we already discussed about it. I think I asked you that question before. Where is it? Okay. What are the requirements for obtaining approval for share trading with a non-dom status? But I will explain. A PR that would like to trade on stocks, as we discussed, the stocks will be from NASDAQ, S&P, and let's say, and we apply for a non-dom as well. Is there any special requirement? And also, what is the tax for that?
Listen, if you have the PR and you are more than 183 days, okay, immediately you are becoming Cyprus tax resident. If you want to apply also for non-dom, there is no problem, okay? The difference here is that for the first part of your question, if you sell the shares, buy and sell shares from NASDAQ, and you make a profit, okay, this profit, since you are Cyprus tax resident, it will not be subject to any personal tax because this is outside the scope of Cyprus tax, as we mentioned at the beginning. For non-dom now, it doesn't make difference if you sell the shares and make a profit. What makes the difference for non-dom is when you will keep the shares and you will receive dividends and interest, let's say from bonds, dividends from shares and interest from bonds. Being non-dom, you will not pay any special defense tax on your dividends and on your interest. Of course, if they have deducted any tax, withholding tax on dividends or from interest abroad, this will be paid, but you will not pay anything in Cyprus. All right?
Let's ask it differently. Let's say right now I move to Cyprus as a PR. I buy a Google stock and I gain, I don't know, let's say 100K. So you say that basically in Cyprus, I will get 100K to my account. I will not pay any tax.
Yes, because it's sale of securities that is outside it is specifically accepted.
I just would say that that's insane. Okay,
and this is
insane.
listen. The difference between Cyprus and the rest of jurisdictions, one of the most powerful tools is exactly this thing. The sale of securities, okay, there are certain prohibitions, but the general rule is that the sale of securities is tax-free unless you trade shares of a Cyprus company that has immovable property in Cyprus. The rest, like your example in Google, this profit in Cyprus will be tax-free. And of course, if let's say you keep the shares in Google and you receive dividends, these dividends in Cyprus being non-dom now, with the non-dom status, you would be exempted.
People ask me right now, what is non-dom? Sorry, guys, that I didn't ask to explain it before.
Non-dom, let's put it in simple words. Simple words. Under the Cyprus tax system, this is recent, by the way, okay? It was introduced over the last few years. You can become Cyprus tax resident non-domicile. Cyprus tax resident means that you are Cyprus tax resident based on the 60-day rule, on 183 days rule, but over and above, if for the last 17 years, okay, prior of coming in Cyprus, you was not tax resident in Cyprus, 17 consecutive years, you can acquire this special status of non-dom. Non-dom means that you will be exempted from any tax, special defense tax that we have in Cyprus. This is the tax for dividends, interest, and rental, and you will only pay a small amount of national health system, which is 2.65%, but this is capped to 180,000 in a year. Let's say if you earn $500,000 dividends in a year, you will pay only 2.65 on the 180,000, which is around, let me
4,500.
1,500, yes.
Okay, a different question before I ask something about property. Someone raised a good question actually, so I want to ask it now.
Yes.
If Cyprus one day will decide to cancel or amend the non-dom rules, can they do it retroactivity and then tax capital gain?
Listen, in Cyprus, the law, generally the laws that we vote, they are prospectively. So from that minute that they vote, they go for the future.
Okay.
In very, very few occasions they came back, but for the non-dom, imagine now that people that they have applied to non-dom, we did thousands of Israelis non-dom, and they have this non-dom status for the next 17 years. So it is very, very difficult given the incentives that they were given by the Cyprus tax government, by the government to claim back or to withdraw the non-dom status.
Okay. I have a different question now regarding a company. I would like to buy a company. I would like to buy a property through a company. The property is above 300 plus VAT, familiar to PR, right? So now I buy through the company. It's ready, paying 19%, renting it out, and then I decide to move to Cyprus. Can I decide to apply for the PR because I already bought the property 300 plus VAT?
Listen, there it becomes complicated. You need to prove that you have the PR is either you buy the property directly or you invest to a company equal to this 350,000 they want as share capital. All right. So you need to, in order to apply for the PR, either you need to increase the share capital or to transfer the property back to yourself.
But is it possible? Let's say right now a case. I transfer 500K to my bank account for the company bank account.
Yes.
You know, 450 to make it easier. 450, I will not make your life easy.
Yes.
450. And then I buy a house in cost 400 plus VAT.
All right.
I rent it out for 1 year.
Yes.
After 1 year, I say, I'm tired of living in Israel. I want to move to Cyprus. This is my property. I want to apply for the PR and move to that house I bought.
Yes. Since you have
apply for the
share
PR?
capital, yes, if you have injected share capital to the Cyprus company exceeding the amount, the minimum requirement of the PR, you will be able to do it.
So can I ask a follow-up question about this one?
Yes,
So,
of course.
thank you. So if I don't need to wait, if I'm understanding you correctly, if I invest in a company more than 2,000, then I can already submit to a PR. I don't need to wait for the house, if I'm understanding right. Yes.
To be honest with you, if you was lost, I didn't hear completely the question. Apologies.
Right. Now,
If
can you hear me now?
can assist, yes.
yes. She asked, let's say right now I transfer 300K to the company and applied for and bought the house through the company. It means that immediately I can apply for the PR. I actually don't need to wait to move to Cyprus.
Yes, but there are certain requirements because in order to get the PR, they will need to visit Cyprus. It's not just buying.
Yeah, they will come, let's say, 5 times a year.
Yes, this thing you need to show that you have done the requirements. Actually, let me explain the PR how it works, just in order to assist. The applicant needs to show that it make an investment of at least 300,000 euro. All right, you can buy the house directly or the apartment directly, a property. Okay, you can make an investment in the share capital of a Cyprus companies with activities and staff in Cyprus. It is important that this Cyprus company has activities and has also employees in Cyprus. All right, or if it is an existing company that you have increased the share capital, there is a share capital increase of 300,000 for an existing company, okay? And you can prove that this company has a physical presence in Cyprus and employs at least 5 people, all right? So there are...
Five if it's an existing company, if it's a new company?
If it is a new company, it can go below 5 people, but at least you need to show that you have employees in Cyprus. All right?
Okay.
I'm sorry if I'm asking something that's already been asked. I wasn't here on the start. You talked about registration of company with foreign interest?
Yes, for immigration purposes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Eliad, go ahead.
If you have any question, feel free to answer it again.
No, it's 200,000, not 300. And
200.
Yeah. And PR, you need to be, in order to improve to citizenship, you need to be at least 5 years in Cyprus, right? 5 full years.
For which?
If you want to improve to get a citizenship of Cyprus.
Okay, so the question is like that. In case I open a company and pay 200, move to Cyprus, work under that company, and I live in Cyprus for 5 years, can I apply for citizenship?
That's 3 years. Foreign interest is 3 years,
After
and PR it's 5
can
years.
I do it?
Yeah.
Yes. Now there are new rules, recent rules, guys, for citizenship, okay, that I can share with you because there are different rules. But apart from the number of years, you need also to make exams for the Greek language. All right.
A1, right?
It's not, yes, it's not just the number of years. You need also to pass exams for the Cyprus, for the Greek language. And actually, this was one of the incentives that I don't know if you're aware, if you Google it, for IT special companies, all right? This is one of the new incentives that the government gave in order to, you know, to give more years, citizenships, more easily visas, and other incentives for this, for IT people. But one of the requirements of citizenship now, which is at very early stages, is also to have exams of the Greek language.
Okay, I will ask a different question about the company. In case there is a couple moving to Cyprus and want to open a company, is it better for them to open one company and both of them working under the same company, or to open 2 separate companies?
Again, there is no problem for the couple to have one company if the activities are related. If they
No, it's not related. Let's say I'm doing marketing and my wife is doing, I don't know, guys, if you want to make up something, maybe working for a tech company, I don't know.
Listen, there are other commercial considerations. For example, the expenses of the company and other things. So it may be mutual to have one company and work under one company if they are coupled. Again, personal opinion, I prefer to have them in separate companies, not to mix one with the
It
other.
means to call you and speak to you, come to the office and discuss with you directly.
Yes.
Okay,
On
separate question.
Will not be able to allocate the expenses and the profitability of each person.
Of course.
Yes.
A different question regarding a couple. If a couple open a company together and both of them are not working under the company but getting a dividend.
Yes.
You know what? One of them get a dividend and one of them is working under the company. Is there any issue with that?
No, depending who has been declared as a shareholder, the person that is declared as shareholder will be the person receiving the dividends.
All of them can register to YC, even kids?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the shareholder will pay YC national health system for the dividends. The other person as an employee will be paying the YC national health system on the salaries.
Okay. A different question. If there is someone who residents of Greece or Portugal, is there any advantage to open a company in Cyprus?
The only advantage is the 12.5% the corporate tax in Cyprus.
Yes, depending on the activities. And the type of this. For example, if you have a portfolio, let's say you buy and sell instruments, shares. Yes, this will be beneficial because here is tax-free, this operation.
I see. Okay, so let's ask one more question. I want to ask one more question that can help a lot of people. I open a company in Cyprus, I transfer 200K, start working under the company, but I do not get a salary. I have a different person working under my company in Cyprus.
Yes.
Let's say a local person, doesn't matter how much I pay. And then I don't withdraw money yet.
Yes.
At the end of the year, I still need to submit a report to tax authorities of my income as a personal income. I'm not
as Cyprus tax resident or as Israeli tax resident?
I'm living in Israel and I have a company in Cyprus. I have someone who is working for that company in Cyprus. I don't get salary for myself and I don't withdraw, and I'm not going to withdraw the dividends yet. I will submit the tax every year for the company. The question is about myself as a shareholder. Do I need to submit as well every year the tax to report the tax every year to Cyprus, even though I don't withdraw dividends?
Listen, if you are Israeli tax resident, by definition, you need to report in Israel. So in Cyprus, you don't report anything.
Yes, there is a reason I'm asking that, because if I don't declare that I have money and I didn't get the money to Israel,
yes.
So
listen, generally, taxes in our life arise either because we receive income or because we make a profit. This is a general rule. However, in Israel, let's say you are just an Israeli tax resident, okay? So you report in Israel. There, you need to consider if in Israel you have CFC rules, control foreign corporation rules, and in Israel you have these rules. So there you need to make sure if reporting as Israeli tax resident, although you haven't received any income, if you will be subject to any Israeli tax because of CFC rules. Okay? If on the opposite, you was a Cyprus tax resident, you will make your tax return, you will submit your tax return in Cyprus. If you haven't received any income, you will, let's say, nothing in a tax year, you don't even need to submit a tax return for people that they have income less than 19,500 euros.
Okay, a different question. Regarding again the payment. If I have a EU passport, I don't need to transfer to 200K, right? But except that, is it the same procedure to open a company?
Yes, there is a procedure with the immigration that we need to follow. It's not the same as third country national, it's much simpler, but you don't need to pay this 200,000 euro as a guarantee, let's say, amount until the...
Okay.
Because it's part of
Different
the
question. I want to open a restaurant with
Yes.
EU passport.
Yes.
I'm sorry, with Israeli passport. Is it possible?
In Cyprus,
In Cyprus, of course. I want you to taste.
you need to
I want you to
register.
taste my couscous, you know?
You need, first of all, to register as a person, physical person, to the authorities, okay? And because it is a restaurant, it's not only tax authorities, social insurance, there are some other requirements for restaurants as well. Or you register a company in Cyprus that will operate the restaurant in Italy.
Okay. A question that Costas just answered, but I would like to get some information about it. In case, let's say the question, if my company is offering professional services for tech,
Yes.
can I apply for the IP box? It means 2.5.
Yes, the IP box is not 2.5, just not to confuse. The IP box, first of all, is for the development of intangibles, okay? Development. If you provide just professional services, these are normal services, will be taxable at the normal rate of tax 12.5. Now, for the IP box regime, there, let's say you are developing a platform, provided that is not for marketing purpose. If it is for marketing purpose, you are not allowed. You will be taxed 12.5. Then, how much you would be able to deduct depends on a formula, okay? That there is a specific formula that you need to follow to establish how much you can deduct. It's not 2.5. Previously, before the old OIP box regime, you could accept it by 80%. Now this is not 80, it can be 80, it can be 75, it can be 55, it can be 40.
Okay.
The formula.
A different question. Can an Israeli join a partner in a Cypriot company? Let's say right now there is already established company.
Yes.
Can I am as an Israeli, just Israeli passport, join as a part of that company?
You
If
mean
yes,
shareholder? Shareholder.
yes.
Yes, for
Yes,
sure.
of course.
Is he
no problem.
required to put money in the company or just register my name?
Listen, if it is a new company, you need to contribute the amount of share capital equal to your shareholding. Let's say if the share capital is 10,000 and you will enter with 50% to a new company, you need to show that you contribute 5,000. If it is an existing company, this means that you need to buy shares from the other shareholder. So this is a transaction between you and the other shareholder.
Yeah, but let's say right now I have two friends who have a company in Cyprus. And I
Yes,
want to join them and they don't mind that I will be joining them.
yes,
Is there anything that I need to add to that company except just give them my passport and register as a shareholder?
yes, unless they don't want money for their shares themselves, they don't want money, you will, all the paperwork will be completed, transfer of shares to your name with the relevant resolutions.
Amazing. Another question that been asked about employment. Let's see if I ask it correctly. If I'm employed by my Cypriot company, I need to register my employment agreement with the immigration department. What is the maximum employment term allowed?
They will give you, this depends on many things. Usually they give 2 to 3 years. So right now, recently they can do it 3 years. But this depends. Let's say if you apply today, but your passport expires in 1 year, they will give you a visa up to your expiry date of your passport. So this depends on different parameters. And
Okay.
they want to extend it under the new rules to be 5 years, 3 to 5 years.
Okay. A different question. For a Cypriot permanent residence with a non-dom tax residence who own a company in a different jurisdiction with a lower tax rate than Cyprus, would Cyprus tax the different?
Yes, if you have a company now, let's say in another jurisdiction, you receive dividends, what you would receive?
Lower tax. Lower tax than Cyprus.
Lower tax in Cyprus. Yes, what type of income you would receive? Dividends?
It's tax-free. Dividends tax-free.
If it's not a dividends, but let's say a salary.
If it is a salary and you are getting, let's say, and you are deducting a lower tax in that country and the rate in Cyprus is high, you will pay the difference in Cyprus. Just for you to know, wherever is the higher rate, you will pay. Let's say I pay in USA, for example, 40%, and in Cyprus is 20%, and I already paid 40 in USA, I will not pay anything in Cyprus because I will claim a tax credit equal to 20%, but the effective rate in TAI is the highest rate that you already paid.
Okay. So, guys, do you have any other question about companies? Because I think we answered, so many questions in the past hour about the company. Yes. So if yes, please raise your hand. And if not, I will ask a few questions about property, and then we can finish.
Can I ask? It's kind of it's the same question I asked before. I just need to understand. If I put the money in the company, if I'm an Israeli citizen and I put the money in the company and I buy a property, VAT and whatever it needs, I can do the PR and I can also rent the apartment, or is it I cannot rent it from the company because it...
Listen, if it is yourself, the answer is no, because you are using this for permanent residence. If you are doing through a company, the company have different activities. All right, you can demonstrate different activities. I wouldn't advise you to buy a flat, let's say, or an apartment, to rent it, and then to claim that I have this company that is rented. I prefer not to do it. Just to do it straightforward with an apartment, purchase of the property directly, or through a company that has different activities. Okay.
So I need to show that the company has also different activity than the real estate activity. So
it can be real estate development, sale, not just having only this property. All right.
So I need like a second property.
Yes, it is better to show that you have activities, but the most straightforward, because now the law allows, but let's see also the practicality in order to get the PRP from the authorities. It's much more straightforward if you can show I have this Israeli citizen buying this property directly for 300,000, let's say, plus VAT. If you go through the companies, you have other parameters that you need to satisfy, which will delay also the process. So my advice for PRPs is either you buy the property directly or you invest in a company that has activities in Cyprus, has its staff and everything, not just this one property. I wouldn't advise that.
Okay, but if I do it privately, I can't rent it.
Yes, okay. The permanent residence permit, again, I'm referring that this is your residence. This is why you are getting the permit, because you are staying in this property. If you are renting this property, it's not allowed. And we have many instances for this withdrawing the permanent residence permits. The same is applicable with this 5% VAT. Most people, they were applying to buy a new property and were applying to get the 5% VAT, and then they were renting the property. This is not allowed. You are buying a property, you are getting the 5% because this is your main residence, is where you live for yourself. It's not for renting out.
Yeah, but I cannot pay the 19% VAT if I'm buying it privately and still rent it and get the PR.
You can pay 19% and you can rent the house. If you will pay 5%, you will apply for 5% VAT. The house needs to stay in your hands for yourself, not to rent it out.
But if I pay, I'm sorry, if I pay the 19, okay?
Yes.
And it's my on my name. I pay the 19 VAT. I can rent it out and still have PR or no?
No. The answer is no, because for the PR, you need to have your house for your own use.
Yes.
This is the law of
the permit is given to you because you buy a permanent residence. You are resident, will stay permanently.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
A different question, because someone asking me, and I think I know the answer, but let's ask you. Today we have a company in Dubai and we want to close it and open in Cyprus. Our company gets cash transaction from clients and paying third-party supplier in crypto. How is crypto payment tax reduction work in Cyprus?
Listen, generally the crypto operation with crypto is considered to be high risk for money laundering purposes, all right? So the banks, for example, in Cyprus will not accept such an operation to give you a bank account. Number one, just see the practicalities. Now, the taxation of cryptos is that if you will make a profit on cryptos, if it is on a company, it will be fully taxable at the rate of 12.5%. If it is a profit on a personal basis, you will follow the tax rates of the personal taxation. If you have any expenses of crypto, this depends. It would be allowable as long as the income is taxable. But the operations with crypto in Cyprus, they are fully taxable, either on a company level or a personal level.
Okay, Daniel, I see that you raise your hand. And guys,
yes, one clarification, sorry.
Daniel, guys, we are about to finish. As you see, we're already 1 hour and 20 minutes in more than we actually planned. If you feel that you have more questions, I can give you Stelios and Kostas' number. You can ask them questions, you can use their services. So just to let you know that, okay? Go ahead, Daniel.
Thank you. One clarification about the basics again. If I stay in Cyprus for more than 60 days, but less than 183 days, and during that year I was traveling, which means that I didn't stay in Israel either for more than 183 days, but by law, I'm still regarded as tax resident in Israel because this is the law, because they say that if you stay for more than 30 days in Israel for 1 year and for 2 years for more than 425 days, you are still regarded as Israeli citizen. Does it mean that I can say that I will not meet the 60-day rule?
Listen, the 60-day rule, as I said earlier, you cannot be tax resident in 2 countries in the same tax year, all right? So either you need to present to Israel all the paperwork that you are tax resident in Cyprus and to deregister from the Israeli tax office, or you will stay Israeli tax resident. You will not be tax resident in Cyprus even if you spend more than 60 days in Cyprus, because in order to get the 60-day, to get a tax residency based on the 60-day rule, you need also to make a declaration to the tax authorities that you are not tax resident in any other country.
Understood.
So if you are tax resident in Israel, you cannot give a false declaration to Cyprus authorities that you are, although you are 65 days in Cyprus, that you are not tax resident elsewhere.
Yes.
All right?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Last question, just let's see. As a freelancer in web design working with clients from Israel, and the salary transfer to the bank in Israel, and I transfer to Revolut, is there anything important for me to know? And also info if I work with clients from Cyprus, I have a EU passport.
Listen, the thing with EU passport, it doesn't count, as I said at the beginning. This counts only for certain procedures and immigration. Now, if the person made the question, is tax resident in Israel, all right? If, let's say, is tax resident in Israel, this means that all this income from Israel that arises from clients in Israel or from Cyprus, wherever received in Revolut or not, this income will need to be reported under the Israeli tax law. If it is the opposite, you are a freelancer in Cyprus, this means that you need to report all this income in Cyprus if you are Cyprus tax resident. And for Cyprus clients, you need also to be registered for VAT because you provide services within Cyprus. Okay?
Okay. Question about the property. Tax obligation, let's say I buy a house with my wife and I rent it out. As I know, for a personal, I have up to 19.5K tax-free, except 2.65. If I buy it with my wife, if it goes up to 39K, or it still stays at 19.5?
No, it's taxable, the one person for 19,500 and the other one for 19,500. So we split the rental agreement, the income from
Even
the
if we
rental
are married?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. A capital.
But need the rental agreement to be on both names.
Okay. And if I sell my company, if I sell my property, I need to pay a capital gain, right?
20% on the net profit.
Exactly. However, if I sell my first property, I have a discount of 17K.
Correct.
It is an exception for the first sale.
Exactly. What happens if I have that property same on my name and on my wife's name? It goes up to 34K, or?
Yes. Each person, provided that you are both registered owners of the property, you can get from 17K.
Even though we are married?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
A physical person.
Okay. So, guys, I would like to thank Kostas and Stelios.
You're welcome.
I learned a lot. I don't know what about you guys. I learned a lot. And I consider myself as a person with some knowledge about Cyprus, but I learned a lot. So thank you guys. I will share their info right now in the group chat that you guys part of on WhatsApp. I will send both phone number, both emails. Feel comfortable to speak to them. As they mentioned, they have an office in Limassol and they have an office in Nicosia. As an honest opinion, every time that I ask them a question, they answer me on the same day. They are more Israeli than me. It means that they are working 24/7, but don't bother them on weekends. Don't bother them on weekends. I wish you guys the best. Again, thank you so much, Kostas. Thank you so much, Stelios.
You are welcome, and thank you for this opportunity. And of course, if there are any other questions or another session webinar, because today.
Wait. Before everybody leave, I just want to say that Kostas and Stelios can help with companies, with immigration that you need to submit the tax, with properties. And he didn't mention, but they are presenting one of the biggest hotels in Cyprus, and are presenting many other companies from Israel, so they are well known with the Israeli market and the tax issue.
Yes.
Am I saying correctly?
This is correct. Thank
you so much, guys. I will send their phone numbers. If someone wants to ask me for their phone, text me, I will send you that.
Thank you very much, and
thank you.
Wish all the best for Israel and the people.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.